Greetings, my name is Melissa Frandsen and I am running for re-election for Senate District 49, which represents the communities of Edina, West Bloomington, Eden Prairie, Minnetonka. I've served one term, which means 4 years in the Senate, serving on transportation, public safety, health and human services, finance, where I'm vice chair, and higher education and workforce development. My background is I am an attorney by trade. I own a small business of public relations in Minneapolis, and I am a mother of one child, Philip, and husband. My husband's name is Nathan, and we've been living in our community in Edina for the last 10 years. I also would like to talk about a few of the items that the League of Women Voters have posed for us, and one of them is working on housing and affordable housing. This last term, the Minnesota legislature has passed historic investments in housing, and one of the things that works particularly well for our community in Senate District 49 is some of that funding can be used for projects like 66 West, which is a project by Beacon Interfaith, where it's a partnership between state and federal, state and local governments in Edina to really bring forward affordable housing for youth. I've also been a co-sponsor of the Homeless Youth Act and other areas where we've made those investments this last legislative session in the last few years. The other question that the League has posed is the work on bipartisanship, and I am proud to say I've been very keen on working with people across the aisle. This last session I worked on historic legislation for Minnesota because we are the first state now in the country to have a bill where we are requiring carbon monoxide detectors on boats of certain sizes and with enclosed accommodations. And this came forth from an incident in our district where we lost a 7-year-old Sophia Beckler. And this area where I had to work bipartisanly in the House and with colleagues of both sides of the aisle to have unanimous support for this legislation. So this is an example of where we can do great things for our state and making sure that we safely have safeguards for our voters in Minnesota. Carbon monoxide is certainly an important issue. Now Minnesota is going to be one of those states that is going to be looked upon as a model for this legislation. So I'm very proud of that work and that I worked with a bipartisan author in the House. And finally, one of the issues that the League of Women Voters asked is what would I do as soon as becoming reelected? And one of the areas where I mentioned I've been working really strongly and hard on has been the Transportation Conference Committee and Transportation and Public Safety Committee, where we were trying to put forth a comprehensive package for transportation for our state, long-term investments that includes roads, bridges, transit, and one of the areas that's particularly of interest of our state is Southwest Light Rail, where I've been very strongly with my position of supporting this investment. It's bringing dollars from the federal government to our state that would go somewhere else. It's also making sure that we support our cities across the line who are very supportive, including businesses that want this. Minnetonka, Eden Prairie, Edina, all of these areas that I represent have been strongly supportive of this project, particularly because it will grow jobs. Chambers of Commerce as well that support the line have also come forth, and I want to make sure that I represent that voice in the legislature. So that's where I will not compromise. It's something that I need to really showcase where we can grow and support our capacity for transportation in our state. Other areas of our state need more roads and more bridges, and our area in the western suburbs is certainly going to benefit from this particular project. A lot of our seniors who are not driving, a lot of our residents, younger residents who really want transit options, not only to the Twin Cities and the metro area towards downtown Minneapolis, but also all the way to the suburbs of Eden Prairie where I represent. Excited that this project hopefully will be able to get the funding that it needs and state share, and we tried to do that this last session, but unfortunately it was stalled, and this is something that I have as a priority and will continue to prioritize for our state. And I appreciate the time, and one thing that I'd like to make sure I end with is making sure that voters go out to vote. Regardless of your candidate, regardless of your political party affiliation, it's important that you vote, and that is the most important thing and biggest message I want to come across. So thank you for your time, and I'll see you at the polls.
Hello, I'm Mike Clayman, and I'm running for the Minnesota State Senate in District 49. District 49 encompasses all of West Bloomington, the entire city of Edina, 1 precinct in Eden Prairie, and 2 in Minnetonka. I was born in Minneapolis, raised in Edina, and have been a citizen of Bloomington now for 36 plus years. I have also been blessed to have been married to my wife, Sue, for 46 plus years, and we have raised 2 grown sons, and we have 1 grandson. I graduated from the University of Minnesota and have been blessed to be part of the startup of 5 different companies. For the past 24 years, I have worked for a large international wholesaler from which I just retired this last January. I have extensive political experience through the Twin West Chamber of Commerce, where I served on the Government Affairs Committee and the Board of Directors for many years, and I ran for Bloomington City Council 5 years ago. The Bloomington League of Women Voters has asked us to address 3 issues. One concerns the making housing more affordable, and if we feel legislation should be implemented to accomplish that. In a short answer, yes. However, the free market enterprise dictates the price by supply and demand of home prices. However, I think we can open this further to many more people by possibly capitalizing on the movement across the country for tiny houses. I would love to see a municipality somewhere in the Twin Cities develop a tiny home community, and therefore opening the opportunity for home ownership to a wide variety of people. The second thing we could possibly do would be to provide for brand new homeowners, for first-time homeowners, some form of tax relief or step up the tax, property tax in the first 3 to 5 years to make it more affordable. The second issue concerns bipartisanship, reaching across the aisles. I'm 100% behind that opportunity. Fortunately, most legislation that's passed is bipartisanship. However, for those issues that become very partisan, it is critical both sides respect each other's viewpoints and understand why those viewpoints are as they are. So we understand both sides of the issue, compromise where necessary, and work together to pass bipartisan legislation to benefit our constituents and taxpayers. And the last issue I'm going to address is what would I do during the first months or year of office. That would be to address our growing budget and taxes. In the way they have been going for the past 10 to 15 years is out of sync with the actual economic increases or cost of living increases. So if the spending and the taxes continue to increase at the level they are unsustainable, and this concerns me for not only all of us, but for our children and our grandchildren. So what I would do to curtail some of those significant increases would be to implement effective controls and measurements for every program and policy we spend money on today, focusing on those where it's most cost effective for the taxpayers. Again, I'm Mike Clayman. I'm running for District 49. I am running to preserve our future for all of us, our children and our grandchildren, to preserve our future through responsible spending, effective education, and efficient transportation. If you would like to hear more detail or see more detail on any of those issues, please visit my website at MikeLaymanForSenate.org. And the last thing I would like to leave you with is an encouragement to vote in the November 8th election. It's your constitutional right to do so, and the state offices are critical and affect you sometimes even more than the federal offices, which many people this year seem to be discouraged about. So please vote on November 8th. I look forward to your support, and I thank you.
Hi, I'm Melissa Halversonwiklund. I represent District 50 in the Minnesota Senate, and this fall I'm running for re-election to my second term. I've been honored to represent Bloomington and Richfield residents in the Minnesota Senate the past 4 years, and I've worked hard with residents to make sure that I'm addressing their issues. I've been using my experience growing up in Bloomington, going through the Bloomington Public Schools, living in Bloomington with my husband and raising our 2 children here to help me work to strengthen and our already strong communities. I hope to get your vote again and your support this fall to help me to continue to work in the Minnesota Senate, to work on the issues that are important to all of us: education, healthcare, maintaining and developing our infrastructure. I believe that having sufficient affordable housing is essential to maintaining a strong community. Bloomington and Richfield do have some affordable housing, but we also have a great deal of aging housing. Bloomington and Richfield have developed programs that help homeowners remodel and renovate their homes. And I think that these are both good examples of programs that can help support and enhance our neighborhoods. I have supported programs such as these at the state level, as well as programs that will provide incentives for building workforce housing and supportive housing. To keep our communities strong and vibrant, we need to ensure that affordable housing options are available for all types of residents. This includes families as well as seniors. I believe that it is very important to work across the aisle when we do our work in the legislature and work with both House and Senate members. People who know me would say that I am a hard worker and one who works hard to develop good relationships to get things done. I have done this the last 4 years, and I believe that this developing relationships with members of both parties helps to move policies and projects forward successfully. Although the other body has been majority controlled by the Democrats for 2 years and majority controlled by the Republicans for 2 years, I have been successful in working to accomplish projects for Bloomington and Richfield in both biennium because I'm able to develop relationships and tackle projects with members of both parties. I will continue to work in this manner because positive results come from hard work, relationship building, and also a willingness to compromise when we need to. The issue that I would most like to continue working on if I am reelected is education. I've been a member of the Education Committee, and I believe that education is fundamental to addressing the biggest concerns of our society today, and that is access to opportunity and also a way to create greater equity in our society. This spans from early childhood and from the birth to 4-year-olds. Parents need to have high-quality, affordable childcare options for their children to know that they're developing and that they're secure in working. Also, from kindergarten through 12th grade, we need to have strong, high-quality programs and that ensure that our graduates are career and college ready. And when they graduate, they need to access post-secondary options that don't leave them so much debt that they cannot pursue their dreams for family and homes of their own. I've been a member, as I said, of the Education Committee, and I would like to continue to work on strengthening education in Bloomington and Richfield. Again, I'm Melissa Halversonwiklund, and I seek to earn your support for re-election to the State Senate in District 50. I will build on my experience from the past 4 years, as well as my experiences as a community member, a former school board member and chair, and as an engineer and technical manager. I hope that you will contact me and provide your questions, concerns, and I look forward to many conversations with you this summer and fall. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paul Rosenthal, and I'm your state representative for District 49B, which is Bloomington, Edina, portions of Eden Prairie, and Minnetonka. It's been a privilege to represent you there. I really have to thank my family, my wife Liz, my sons Jack and Eddie, for allowing me the opportunity to serve. They're wonderful people. Jack and Eddie are entering high school, and for me that is something I can't even comprehend, because they were, just yesterday, they were small little cuddly things. But my involvement in the community has been really something of growth for my entire family. My background, I'll start with my education. I graduated from New York University with a degree in urban planning and metropolitan studies. I worked as a commercial realtor in New York City for 16 years, working mostly with, I sort of carved out a niche in working with the United Nations embassies and their trade organizations and nonprofits. I met my wife, my wonderful wife Liz, and we decided that Minnesota was a great place to raise a family, and we've lived in the district for about 14 years. We opened a small business together called Doing the Dishes, which was the first paint-your-own pottery store in Minnesota. We ran it together for 7 years, as I said. We then sold it. We decided we wanted to remain married. Since then, I've opened businesses in real estate, and I'm a foreign currency trader as well. You know, I've done everything from coach soccer and baseball, pick up trash on highways, and engage in helping out at Veep and various other community organizations. Going forward, where housing is an issue. We want police officers, teachers, to be able to live in the community that they serve if they so choose. And there's a lot of people out there without a home. And one of my proudest moments in the legislature was carrying the Homeless Youth Act. Every night there's over 2,000, I believe it is, children out there without a place to live. And they go to school too. And just yesterday, a building on 66th Street was open to house and train and give these kids a stable environment to live. And I think we need to see more of that. People don't realize that homelessness is not just in the city, it's all over. It's in Edina, it's in Bloomington, it's in Eden Prairie, and it's in Minnetonka. And it's a real issue and something that I'm very passionate about. I've found that the best way to get things done in the legislature is to work bipartisanly. 90% or more of my bills have Republican co-authors, and I do the same for them. It gets us working together from the start, instead of people screaming at each other from the far ends of their parties, which to me gets us nowhere. And I like to get things done. You know, just as an example, I'm the co-chair of the Small Business Caucus, and it's about 30 of us from both sides of the aisle. You drop your party line when you walk in the door, and you huddle around, and you become friends, and you become people, not a Democrat, not a Republican, but you become a person working together to do what's best for the state. And I'm really proud of that accomplishment, and that's how I work in the legislature. Going forward, I will continue to be prudent with our tax dollars. I think we need to really look at investing in transportation and education. Higher education has been really neglected for the last, I haven't seen it, they're now operating at 2003 levels. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I certainly know that working together with you and with people across the aisle, that we can make Minnesota the best place to live. So I'm asking for your vote on November 8th. Thank you very much.
My name is Max Reimer. I'm running in District 49B for the Minnesota State House of Representatives, covering West Bloomington, a little piece of Edina, a little piece of Eden Prairie, and a little piece of Minnetonka. I moved out to Minnesota 8 years ago. I'm originally from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I came out here for school. I went to Northwestern College in Roseville, Minnesota, now the University of Northwestern St. Paul. I met my wife at school. We got married about 2.5 years ago and then moved out to Edina, and I've been involved in local politics ever since, being a precinct chair and a caucus leader at this previous caucus in 2016. I'm a small business owner. I'm in digital marketing and web development, and I also am running a small technology startup for salespeople. In all, I employ about 5 people. And ultimately, I'm running to be in the State House of Representatives because I see the business climate in Minnesota. I see the strain on our small business owners from overregulation, from overtaxation, and ultimately, I'm running to reduce that burden on the people who drive our economy, that being our small business owners, that being our educators, and that being the people who move our economy from one point to another point. My first question is, should the legislature try to make housing more affordable? And if so, what does that look like? I happen to believe the legislature plays a small role in making housing affordable. And that small role tends to be removing themselves from the economic environment to let the economy churn out through the private sector. If you have people who have good job prospects, advancement opportunity, and the ability to make a better income, ultimately a rising tide lifts all boats. So the economy is going to drive people to buy houses more frequently, to buy houses that are a little bit more expensive, and ultimately they're going to have the income to afford housing. So if the legislature should improve affordable housing by inserting itself into housing, I tend to disagree and say that the legislature should in fact utilize and implement legislation that gives small businesses the opportunity to pay their employees more and ultimately leading to a better economic environment. Most voters want better bipartisanship in St. Paul. That's not a secret. That's what I want as well. We saw a lot of interesting back and forth bickering in this last 2016 session, especially when it came to the bonding bill and having a special session. Ultimately, I believe that it begins with listening to each other a little bit better, talking less, or to hear yourself talk a little less, and taking the information that somebody who might disagree with you is giving you and interpreting that within your own worldview and making a decision that makes sense for both parties and the state of Minnesota. So again, to have better bipartisanship, we need to have an understanding that begins with listening and less talking and understanding that the other side of the aisle is not necessarily the enemy, but we need to come together to create better solutions. And I hope to be part of that change come November. The last question that I was supposed to answer was, what is the single most important issue to me as a potential legislator come 2016 and into 2017? And that is, again, the reduction of the tax and legislative burden on small and medium-sized businesses to ensure that we have a thriving Minnesota economy, and our legislature does everything in its power to support the drivers of our economy. Now that means supporting them with good infrastructure, good roads and bridges, reduction of the tax burden, better benefit opportunities for their employees, and a lot of that has to do with government intrusion and making sure that we get out of the way of the people who make this state great. So in conclusion, my name is Max Reimer. I am a small business owner myself. I understand what it means to struggle. I understand what it means to write my name down on somebody's paycheck and give it to them. And I understand what the burden is that they're going through. I'm looking forward to this 2016 campaign season, and I'm excited to get started in 2016 and 2017. So Bloomington, Edina, Eden Prairie, and Minnetonka, I'll see you out there. You can visit my website, maxforhouse.com.
Hi, my name is Chad Anderson, and I have the honor and the privilege of serving as a state representative for Bloomington from District 50B. My wife Ann and I have 4 children who attend schools and preschools here in Bloomington. I was born here, raised here, went to both Bloomington Kennedy and Normandale, and my family's roots in Bloomington go back to the 1950s. There are currently 4 generations of my family currently living in District 50B. At the Minnesota House of Representatives, I serve on the Transportation, Policy and Finance Committee, the Aging and Long-Term Care Committee, and the Government Operations and Elections Committee. Professionally, I'm a realtor. I own and operate Orange House Realty. I love this city, and I want to see it continue to be a great place to live, work, raise a family, and operate a business. Now let me take a few minutes to discuss some of the issues that will face our incoming legislator. As a realtor, I understand how home ownership can transform lives. It can make our community stronger, safer, and more prosperous. And now Minnesota is already a leader in affordable housing and has many robust affordable housing plans. In just 2015 alone, 17,000 families benefited from this when they refinanced or purchased their home. This past session, I also supported an affordable workforce housing program administered through the Department of Employment and Economic Development. Now this program helped bridge the gap for the mortgage payments between what a worker could qualify for and what that actual payment is. And this is another great program that's going to help hundreds of people, and I am sure that Minnesota is going to continue to invest in these types of programs. I believe it is critical to work in a bipartisan manner in order to get things done. And although I only have been in the state legislature for 1 session, I made sure that this session I wanted to work in the same bipartisan manner that my predecessor, former Representative Ann Lenczewski, did. One way to reduce partisanship is to simply get to know your Democratic colleagues. As the newest legislator, I made it a point to get to know them, to reach across party lines, to talk to them. A lot of the things that we vote on and that we discuss do not fall on partisan lines. And I will continue to make sure that I work with my colleagues to make sure that we can get things done for Minnesota that benefit the people of Minnesota. Now, during the special election, I talked a lot about one of the issues facing our community, which is the education achievement gap. It is unacceptable that Minnesota has the worst achievement gap in the nation among white students of color. This is unacceptable, and we must do better. Now, as far as the education achievement gap is because of language difficulties, we must more quickly immerse our children in learning English. And now might be the time to revisit those language learner programs to see if they are having their desired effect. Secondly, we know that not all students learn at the same pace and in the same way. And Minnesota has a good variety of different schooling options, such as public schools, private schools, home schools, and online schools. And I will continue to support those choices so that we put the parents in charge so they can choose which way of learning is best for their child. And finally, maybe we could offer high school credits to seniors if they would work with youth and help them with their studies so those youth can better be in school. The home where my wife, my 4 kids live is less than a mile from the home in which I grew up. As a realtor and owner of several rental properties, I literally walk the streets of Bloomington every day. Bloomington is part of who I am. I understand the transportation issues, the healthcare issues, and the education issues that face our community. And I also understand that people can succeed in business when government is kept small, efficient, and under control. I'm proud of the progress that I have made my first session. I thank you for the opportunity to serve Bloomington at the state capitol, and I will continue to work hard for the people of Bloomington. There's still a lot of work that I need to do, though, and I'm respectfully asking for your vote. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Carlson, and I'm running for the Minnesota House of Representatives. As a city council member, professional project manager, and father of 2 daughters who attend Bloomington Public Schools, I am invested in Bloomington. So I'm excited to be running for the Minnesota House and sharing my positive campaign message with you. In the State House, I will focus on the needs of all Minnesotans, whether it is investing in our kids and their education, providing affordable housing, fixing roads and bridges, addressing racial and economic disparities, or reforming state government, I will put your needs first and get the job done. I received my bachelor's degree from Iowa State University and a master's of business administration from the University of St. Thomas. I'm also a policy fellow at the University of Minnesota Humphrey School of Public Affairs. In my professional career, I'm a project manager with a background in economic development. I've been elected twice to the Bloomington City Council and serve on several boards and commissions, including the Bloomington Housing and Redevelopment Authority. As a commissioner on the Bloomington Housing and Redevelopment Authority, I help provide housing for those who are not adequately served by the marketplace and coordinate the city's efforts to preserve existing neighborhoods. I understand the importance of a community providing a variety of housing options so that it continues to be an attractive place where people want to live. As state representative, I would continue to support affordable housing programs because all Minnesotans deserve a safe place to call home. As parents, my wife Kari and I understand the need for safe roads and quality schools. I will support plans to fix our aging infrastructure like the 35W and 494 interchange, because we know that every minute in traffic is a minute away from family. I also believe that together we can build a brighter future for our students through early childhood education and making college more affordable. I believe our elected officials have a responsibility to solving Minnesota's transportation challenges and investing in our kids' education. Having parents who are retired and living on a fixed income, I also appreciate the importance of setting goals, sticking to a budget, and evaluating outcomes. I care deeply about Bloomington, and as a two-term Bloomington City Council member, I have the experience and professional relationships to advocate for the needs of our city at the state capitol. I am running for state representative because I believe by working together we can make a real difference on the issues that matter most to Minnesotans. I have stood up for democratic principles and demonstrated effective leadership abilities by working with others to advance the public good. As a proven leader, I learned the respect of others with my inclusionary approach to problem solving and ability to get things done. We need strong leaders at the Capitol if we are to do what's right for Minnesota. In closing, I am ready to contribute towards building an opportunity economy that works for all Minnesotans. On the Bloomington City Council and as a project manager, I have worked across every level of government. I know firsthand the importance of maintaining a comprehensive transportation system and the need to close the skills gap and develop a workforce for 21st century jobs. As a state representative, I will be able to hit the ground running, ensuring that Bloomington residents continue to have a strong voice at the Capitol.
Hello, citizens of Bloomington. My name is Christopher Seemore. I'm here today by request of the League of Women Voters of Bloomington to answer a few important questions. I may take the time to read some of these answers as I want to express them clearly and effectively. I'm a husband and father of 4 children and 3 grandchildren. I am seeking the Minnesota seat for House for SD 50B in the city of Bloomington. I am also announcing my candidacy for governor for the race of 2018. I am a retired school teacher and currently a nonprofit CEO of a think tank under life-changing outreach programs and services. I plan to introduce new legislation that would increase affordable housing tax credits for rental property owners in East and West Bloomington. For property owners who apply for this tax credit, I will propose a rental cap. For most renters, they pay the landlord's mortgages, taxes, fees, landlord's insurance, gas, water, and trash, and sometimes the maintenance and upkeeps of the lawns. Not to mention their own groceries, their light bills, their transportation bills, and internet, which is very important to have in these days and times. I propose this tax credit as the renters should not have to pay the homeowners' insurance, tax fees, or their maintenance. I do believe in rental property investment as a means for income in the United States, but I do not believe that it is the renter's sole responsibility to pay the price of doing business for said real estate property investors. Most voters would like to see elected officials work together in a more bipartisan way, and I agree. I believe it is very important to work across the aisles as Minnesota has more than a two-party system in our great state. My current campaign slogan is to return the seat of the House of Bloomington to the people, not the party. As I believe, we are humans. We are not elephants nor donkeys. I say this because, according to the last election results for this seat in Bloomington, it was 52% Republican voters and 48% Democratic voters. As a Bloomington representative for the House, I will introduce legislation for increased educational spending, long-lasting job creation for our youth ages 15 to 21, extended hours of West Bloomington transportation, and more affordable housing regardless of your party's affiliation. The single most important issue I will address after taking office in Bloomington as your representative will be to introduce long-lasting legislation that will decrease the different levels of poverty in Bloomington. Bloomington has between 13% and 20% unemployment rate, and the same for poverty. The poverty rate for women and minority groups is a poor reflection of Bloomington as a whole, which to me is an embarrassment. Women's poverty rate are 26%, African Americans 25%, and so on down the line for the rest of the minority population. I will work hard to fight at fixing this blight on our community to eliminate these awful racial, gender, and equity gaps in our community. This is my first state political race, but I am not a newcomer to politics. I have 8 consecutive years as a Democratic Party leader, and it is my goal, and I believe it is my duty, to return the House seat to the people of Bloomington. So please vote for Christopher Seemore in this upcoming primary election on August 9th, 2016. Thank you very much for this opportunity to the League of Women Voters, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.